Shalomie Homies, just to warn before we start, there is that thing, like, Bible, I think is how you spell it, like, the big book with all of the books inside the book. Like, if that may affect you, I'm just giving a disclaimer, because, I know that has affected lots of people anyways. Alright, so on to the show. Welcome back to another episode of Bible Bit Not Boring. I have my mom here once again.
Hello.
We should get my dad on here sometime. He hasn't been on here for a while.
Yeah, he's pretty fabulous, but you'd like doing it more with me anyways.
Yeah. That's honest.
I'm just joking. I'm just a conversationalist.
Yeah, well,
I talk a lot.
Yeah. That's good for podcasts.
Yeah.
Very good podcast material. So,
But Dad is funnier than me.
Yeah. So that's why that's why I think some people like the show, because then you can get episodes of Dad where they're really funny, you can get episodes of you where they're really deep, and it's a good mix of both.
I appreciate that.
So today we're going to do chapter 3 to 4. What's wrong with me?
I don't even remember what we're doing.
Chapter 3 to 4, Exodus.
Yeah.
Exodus. We have a lot coming up in this Exodus story. It's going to be fun to get through. Moses is with the burning bush. Well, we'll get on to that more a little bit later. I would just like to announce that Shalom and Glowco might be at Hebrew Fest. I'm going to attempt. I have a new...
I think our plan is to get you there.
Thanks. I really hope I am able to get there.
It's just a matter of, like, getting your product built back up again. But, yeah.
I've made my new scent. It's not as new anymore, but it's called Shabbat Memories.
Actually, I burned Shabbat Memories on Shabbat when we hosted for Shabbat, and I got a couple compliments. People really enjoyed those candles.
Oh, really? Thanks. I just want to do I brainstormed that candle for a while. I was trying to think of, like, the warm, like, cozy feeling of Shabbat, like, the welcoming feeling. What would be, like, a really good scent to go with that? And I was like, this, like, citrusy orange would go good with that. So I made it. Anyways, hey Mom, you were telling me something really interesting in the kitchen of the car the other day. Can you tell us what that was?
Yeah, it was just a random, you're just like a random thought. I might even be wrong. I'm not sure. I have to go back and read it. But I was just thinking about how, like, it's just a random reflection, anecdotal. It doesn't necessarily have to do with what we're studying. But I was just thinking, like, with Messiah's crucifixion. And just, the Pharisees bringing him to Pilate and accusing him. They're not named, that I can think of anyways. They're not necessarily named. It's just like the Pharisees or like the religious leaders. And I think that that's really interesting because imagine if your family line had been named for something like that. The accusations and, perhaps even curses on your family line that would be sustained for such an accusation.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I don't really have much to add on to that, but I thought that was kind of interesting earlier. So anything else you would like to say? Any other off-topic things before we get into the main topic today?
No, I'm excited.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well...
Maybe a little tired today as well, but very excited for the study.
All right, well, let's get into chapter 3 of Exodus, please.
You want me to just start reading it?
Yeah, we'll read. Whoops. I meant 4. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Was I here for 3?
No. Yes, you were.
Oh, man. All right. Well, let's do 4 then. Moses replied, "But I'm certain they won't believe me, and they won't listen to what I say, because they'll say, Adonai did not appear to you." Adonai answered him, "What is in your hand?" And he said, "A staff." And he said, "Throw it on the ground." And he threw it on the ground. It turned into a snake, and Moses recoiled from it. Then Adonai said to Moses, "Put your hand out and take it by the tail." He reached out with his hand and took hold of it, and it became a staff in his hand. This is so that they will believe that Adonai, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. Furthermore, Adonai said to him, "Now put your hand inside your coat." He put his hand in his coat, and when he took it out, his hand was leprous, as white as snow. Then God said, "Now put your hand back in your coat." He put his hand back in his coat, and when he took it out, it was as healthy as the rest of his body. If they won't believe you or heed the evidence of the first sign, they will be convinced by the second. But if they are persuaded even by both these signs and still won't listen to you, what you say, then take some water from the river and pour it on the ground. The water you take from the river will turn into blood on dry land." Moses said to Adonai, "Oh, Adonai, I'm a terrible speaker. I always have been. Oh, and I'm no better now. Even after you've spoken to your servant, my words come slowly, my tongue moves slowly."
Oh,
Adonai answered him, "Who gives a person a mouth? Who makes a person dumb or deaf, keen-sighted or blind? Isn't it I, Adonai? Now therefore go, and I will be your mouth, and will teach you what to say." But he replied, "Please, Lord, send someone else, anyone you want." At this, Adonai's anger blazed up against Moses. He said, "Don't you have a brother, Aaron the Levi? I know that he's a good speaker. In fact, here he is now coming out to meet you, and he'll be happy to see you. You will speak to him and put words in his mouth, and I will be your mouth and his, teaching you both what to do. Thus he will be your spokesman to the people. In effect, for you he will be a mouth, and for him you will be like God. Now take this staff in your hand because you need it to perform the signs." Moses left, returned to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, "I beg to you, let me go and return to my kinsmen in Egypt to see if they're still alive." Jethro said to Moses, "Go in peace." Adonai said to Moses in Midian, "Go on back to Egypt, because all the men who wanted to kill you are dead." So Moses took his wife and sons, put them on a donkey, and started out for Egypt. Moses took God's staff in his hand. Adonai said to Moses, "When you get back to Egypt, make sure you do before Pharaoh every one of the wonders I have enabled you to do. Nevertheless, I'm going to make him hard-hearted, and he will refuse to let the people go. Then you are to tell Pharaoh, 'Adonai says, Israel is my firstborn. I have told you to let my son go in order to worship me, but you've refused to let him go. Well, then I will kill your firstborn son.'" At a lodging place on the way, Adonai met Moses and would have killed him had not Zipporah taken a flintstone and cut off the foreskin of her son. She threw it at his feet, saying, "What a bloody bridegroom you are for me." But then God let Moses be. She added, "A bloody bridegroom because of the circumcision." Adonai said to Aaron, "Go into the desert to meet Moses." He went, met him at the mountain of God, and kissed him. Moses told him everything Adonai had said in sending him, including all the signs he had ordered him to perform. Then Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the leaders of the people of Israel. Aaron said everything Adonai had told Moses, who then performed the signs for the people to see. The people believed when they heard that Adonai had remembered the people of Israel, and seen how they were oppressed, they bowed their heads and worshipped.
Man, there's so many profound things in this, like all of these signs that God gives him. They have some pretty big meanings. We have a lot to discuss, and I mean, the burning bush is just like such a cinematic. How am I saying?
You said cinematic, yeah.
Cinematic piece of the Bible, and I just remember watching the Prince of Egypt play. Moses, go free the Egyptians. I mean Israelites.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just boom, and then he's done.
No, they portray that in. Are you talking about the Prince of Egypt? Is that what
play.
you're saying? Oh, the play was just terrible. My goodness.
Unfortunately.
Yes, if you're thinking about renting the live action like theater Prince of Egypt, I advise against it.
Please, yeah. So for clarity's sake, because we've had some confusion in the podcast previously, I have labeled all of my notes from fact to assumption.
Oh, okay, interesting.
All right, so this one's a fact, because maybe kind of an assumption, I don't know, but Moses keeps denying God. He literally doesn't believe God.
Yeah, no, he is a doubter.
Yeah, he's doubting. I mean,
he doubts in his insecurity though. Like
yeah.
It's not just that he's doubting what he's seen. But I mean, I guess that's one and the same. Because he doubts that the people will trust, that God sent him, and he doubts in his ability, and...
Yep. Yeah. Okay, this one's an assumption. So Moses, this is a big assumption, that Moses' diseased hand represented Israel's faith condition and it being cleansed showing God was able to fix it.
I can see that.
That one's an assumption.
Well, I think it's just, it's a conjecture.
Mm-hmm. So, and then the other sign, was him showing how he can smite Egypt, representing the Nile, where he pours out the water. That sign.
Yeah.
All right. That's
well, that was such a big one because, like fishing and all that in Damascus, the Nile was a source of wealth for Egypt.
Yeah, and culturally speaking, back there, the reason why everyone looked down on the Israelites. This is just something that you probably would want to know for like future episodes, because we talk a lot about like Israeli history, because that's the interesting stuff in the Bible, and because people look down on Israel a lot, because back then foreign nations thought the more gods you have, the more power you have, and the better. So Egypt had a god for literally everything. And to have only one God just seemed like ridiculous.
Yeah.
It just seemed like...
Well, wasn't there something too about them? Gosh, I feel like I remember something about them. Was it tending sheep that made them despicable to Egypt?
What? No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'd have to look it up.
All right. So, these people didn't understand that there was one God. And Moses didn't understand when God came to him. He didn't understand that there was only one God. I mean, because he was in Midian, which wasn't God-following people. Like Zipporah just said, we can talk about that later, which actually proves...
They weren't God-following? They were in
Midian.
They were?
They weren't.
Yes, they were.
Well, then explain this. What Zipporah is saying over here, like... what a bridegroom you are. She's saying that she's mad because Moses is such a weak, person, and he picked a god that makes him circumcise their son, and he's too weak to do it, so Zipporah has to do it herself. That's why she was mad.
Hold on.
Okay.
I've got to read it again.
All right. Okay.
What?
I know. I mean, this one's probably a hard one with cinematic stereotypes and stuff.
Well, because but I mean also, okay, but hold on. But this covenant wasn't in place yet. Even if they were people who knew God, man, I feel so silly not knowing whether this is true or not. I've read this stinking chapter, this book so many times, I can't even count.
Oh, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I'm just saying, I should have read this ahead of time, but I'm just saying because the covenant of circumcision didn't exist.
In Genesis 17, Abraham circumcised his own son.
Oh, you're right. Okay, fine.
All right.
You win. You win.
All right. So, it's not that Moses was bad at talking. He didn't know Egyptian or Hebrew anymore because he's been in Midian for 40 years now.
Right.
Estimate. So, and Moses had little idea of the power of God. When he says something, he means it. So, then there's also where he says, I will harden Pharaoh's heart, which we will get in a lot more in a future episode.
What?
Yeah, but I will give you
One of my
this.
favorite things to talk about.
Yeah. 20 times harden is used. 10 times Pharaoh hardens his own heart. 10 times God does.
Interesting.
Okay. You know what? I'm just going to give a quick little breakdown of how this is because it's so much. Basically, Pharaoh had already committed the unforgivable sin. Blaspheming against the Holy Spirit. He made himself a god. He thought he was a god. Everyone thought he was a god. He made gods, different gods. If that's not blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, I don't know what is. And it's not, oh, poor Pharaoh, God hardening him. It's don't be like Pharaoh. Because another reason that God would harden his heart, I'm sorry, I'm bouncing a little bit all over the place, but another reason that he would harden Pharaoh's heart, it was because this is really showing his gods, ego gods, or our reputation. And people in Arabia were talking about it 40 years later, and it really gave other people a chance to come and join the Israelites, showing the power of God.
Yeah, I think this is talked about a lot because especially for like like newer Christians coming in, reading this, hearing that God is all good, 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 and then they see things like we actually just discussed on Shabbat how God sent an evil spirit to torment Saul, or God hardens Pharaoh's heart, and there's these things where it looks like bad excuse me, bad is done. But like it says he hardened something, and I like to think about cement when we talk about this, because if you cement something, then you harden what's already there. Mm-hmm. If he had cemented Pharaoh's heart, and Pharaoh's heart was good, he would have cemented, put into place what was already there. He would have affirmed, hardened what was already there, grown it stronger. Yeah. If it was joy and love, he would have become abundant in joy and love. But he was abundant in pride and hatred and control. And so because he hardened it, cemented it, affirmed it, it just strengthened what was already existing in Pharaoh's heart.
Yeah. I would encourage people to pause right here and think a second about that, because that's really profound. And I will be moving on, even though it's such a good topic.
It is.
And we can talk a lot more about that later when we see it more. But I'm going to have to move on, so if you want to think more about that, please, I encourage you to take a pause, maybe do some studying. Anyways, so, okay, we'll give you that opportunity. All right, now we're back. Okay.
Hope you had all the time you need to study that one out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And wait, one more thing about that. There can come a time when men's paths and hearts are so obstinate and unmoving that God just eventually leaves us. You know what I mean?
Well, I think there's a verse in scripture that says he gives them over to their sin.
Yeah. So, I mean, anyways.
I'm paraphrasing. It's not that he leaves us necessarily, but like, yeah.
I've written some of my bullet points way too fast. So instead of Zipporah, it says Zippy. Zip.
Cute. I like the
because
nickname.
I'm just trying to write it down.
Zipporah, just for your information, I suppose means bird.
Oh yeah. In what language?
Midian.
That's suspicious.
Why?
Okay,
well, why is it suspicious?
Because everyone thinks Midian was a faith.
Well, I don't know. I don't know whatever language. It could have been Hebrew if it's a Hebraic name, you know.
And wait, did you just make up the language of Midian?
No, I'm just because she was from Midian. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a Hebraic name.
So Moses sends Zip or Zipporah or whatever you like to call her back to Midian for for her bad attitude. Yeah. So, anyways, because God says, literally, better off in the desert than with a wicked wife.
Right?
Better off in the desert alone. And Moses actually has that option. Right?
I guess so.
And I would just like to say now, because we're talking about Moses' excuse, does he actually think that's going to work? My mouth moves slowly. I'm not good at talking.
Right. Again, speaking from insecurity and his own, what he's capable of, not what. There's that very, very popular phrase that God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called.
Yeah. And I also think Moses and Aaron, Aaron makes an awful excuse later in the Bible also. Because, it's like, oh, yeah, they just gave me some gold, and out came this calf. They just, I just grabbed a gun and actually shot somebody.
Oh, yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I just threw in some gold, and out came his calf.
Yeah, it's the same thing as saying, oh.
We're jumping way ahead.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, Moses and Aaron are the kings of awful excuses.
Oh, I see. Well, they are brothers.
Yeah. I just imagine, oh, hey, look. I accidentally grabbed a gun and shot somebody. It's the same thing.
Can't believe it.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's all I have. And I want to keep these under 20 minutes. Or just at a short distance. And I don't think we have the time to do another chapter.
I think this one was full of really exciting. I really liked the stuff you brought. I'm going to have to go now and study. I hate when you do that to me. Now, like, this belief I've held for so long, and then I'm like, wait, what? Like, I have to second guess that Midianites were not Israelites. I still don't. I'm going to study that out because I still don't.
That's one of my big pleasures in doing this podcast. Yeah. Okay. So, I would like to wrap things up a little bit differently. We're going to do some funny verses from the Bible that my mom's going to read.
Yeah, I am. So, I'm slow to wake up, and my kids know that early in the morning we don't do a lot of, like, chatty, or, you know, we wake up slow, we snuggle on the couch, we, like, drink our tea and coffee. And I came across Proverbs 27:14. It says, if anyone loudly blesses their neighbor early in the morning, ... and it's just translation, like, don't be loud before coffee.
Yeah.
I feel it.
You know, that's funny, because I was playing the Bible is Funny, and there's this one card on there, and we were trying to play, like, they're, like, funny scripture verse cards, and I used one, we were using them to, like, play actual life, and I was doing it with my dad, and I put down, go away, you bald-headed man. That was a hilarious one.
That's
all right,
well
you got any other ones?
The rest of that verse. If anyone loudly blesses their neighbor early in the morning, it will be taken as a curse.
That's so true.
Let's see.
Okay, do one that's like
the Song of Solomon's. Oh. He says that about his wife, or the woman that he is doting on. Your hair is like a flock of goats.
I'd just be like, thanks.
That's what Dad tells me. That's how he won me over.
Oof, sad. Sorry. All right. Well, I think that's all we've got today. So thanks for coming. Please,
like, subscribe, review.
That's not what we do here.
Oh,
we don't.
Sorry.
Can you leave us at least a 4-star rating? At least 4 stars. That's not most That's not what most podcasters say. 5 stars or whatever.
Sorry, just me, a lowly TikToker over here.
Yeah, just lowly TikToker.
You're on YouTube too.
Yeah, kind of. Sometimes I don't know. People
subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, you could follow us on. I'm lost. I'm sorry.
Leave a review.
Do the cool podcast things that are nice. Thank you. All right.
And check us out on YouTube.
Yeah, check us out on YouTube.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Bible Been Boring. Does anyone make it this far? Dang, if you made it this far, give yourself a high five. You're just a supported kid. Thank you so much. And that's all we have for today. On to the credits with you, Jim. Hey, I'm Jim, and here are the credits. Bible Been Boring was created by R.J. Morris. Studying for Bible Been Boring was done by R.J. Morris. Other things for Bible Been Boring